Hi everyone, welcome to the John Fitzgerald Kennedy slideshow. JFK was born May 29, 1917 in Brookline, Massachusetts. His parents were Joseph and Rose Kennedy. They were a very wealthy and politically influential family. He had 8 brothers and sisters. In his adolescent years, he was very, very sick and later diagnosed with Addison's disease. My favorite thing about his childhood is at age 10, he wrote a letter to his father and asked for an allowance increase. Having a family of his own included wife Jackie and 4 children, Caroline, John Jr., Patrick, and Arabella. Let's talk about his education starting in high school. He attended Choate Academy. This is a boys' boarding school. For college, he enrolled in Princeton University, but soon withdrew due to illness. Later, he enrolled in Harvard University, where he majored in government and international relations. He went on to Stanford University for his graduate studies. Let's talk about his military service, which began in an attempt to enlist in the U.S. Army, but was rejected due to health conditions, mainly his back. After that, he did do physical therapy, where he was well enough to make a second attempt, but this time was with the U.S. Navy, and he was accepted there in 1941. He went on to be an intelligence officer in Washington, D.C. And after the Pearl Harbor attack, JFK requested active duty at sea. He and his men were attacked, and he led several to safety, saved their lives along with his, and received the Marine Corps Medal and the Purple Heart Medal. His political and personal achievements. His first election was at age 29, and this was for a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. He stayed there from 1947 to 1953. In 1953, he ran for U.S. Senate, where he served until 1960. And this is when he ran for presidency, which he was there from 1961 until the day he was assassinated, November 22nd in 1963. Some interesting facts are he never lost an election. He was the youngest president in history at the time. He was also the first and only Catholic president up until just recently when President Biden won his election for presidency. JFK was also the author of many books and was awarded the Pulitzer Prize. Personality of JFK. What was he like? He was said to be very charismatic, maybe even a tad too much charm, given his weakness of young, beautiful ladies. He was humorous, made life fun and entertaining. He was witty, a smooth talker, usually got what he wanted. He was challenging, he asked questions. He had thought-provoking dialect and always left you with something to think about. He was intelligent, his ability to adapt and navigate all the things that he did was very impressive. He was well poised, always seemed relaxed and collected. What did he value? He valued freedom. That was evident with his military service. He valued equality. He placed himself at the head of the Civil Rights Revolution. He valued family. They were very close-knit, and they even made his campaign a family affair. He valued loyalty. He searched for this above all else in hiring aides and creating his inner circle. He valued world peace. He was the founder of the Peace Corps. He valued education, a product of higher education himself, and he sought it in others and in who he hired. Leadership legacy. His leadership traits included articulation. He was an effective communicator and public speaker. He was perceptive, not quick to react, held good judgment. Self-confident and self-assured. Well, he decided to run for president, so that was evident. He was persistent and determined. This was evident in his civil rights advocacy. He was dependable, his values never changed, and he kept his word. He was outgoing, a people person, and full of life. He was very diligent. His achievements speak volumes. Leadership characteristics. JFK had an incredible ability to inspire others. He did micromanage in a crisis, such as the Cuban Missile Crisis, but who wouldn't micromanage in a possible nuclear war? He applied pressure when needed and punished in order to motivate or achieve objectives. An example would be when he deployed troops to universities to ensure civil rights laws were upheld despite the defiance from several state leaders. He gave clear orders. He sought advice for decision making, although he was known to question and challenge. And as you'll notice, each of these represent a certain leadership style. The first and last were more of a democratic style, where the four in the middle were an authoritarian style. Based on the traits and styles shared previously, JFK leads majority in an authoritarian manner, with sometimes a democratic style in there too. JFK's accomplishments include, number one, the Civil Rights Revolution. His very first act as a president was a Civil Rights Act. In his inaugural parade, he was watching the Coast Guard's cadets march, and he realized that none of them were African Americans. His very first call was to the Academy, and he ordered them to accept African Americans into the Academy. Another thing that he did was appoint numerous African Americans to prominent governmental positions. In the same way as the Coast Guard, he ordered the FBI to accept more African Americans into the Bureau. And for the universities, he fought for desegregation, just like I mentioned when he deployed troops, down to ensure those civil rights acts were being followed according to law. The next thing JFK did was bring the United States out of a recession. His tax cut policies helped contribute to a better United States, and he lowered unemployment. And this went on for years to put the United States in a better position, pulling them out of that recession. The next thing is the Cuban Missile Crisis. He guided the United States out of a missile crisis. That in itself is a huge accomplishment. He averted nuclear conflict with the Soviets, and this was a big win because this settled much unrest for the people who were so worried about a nuclear war. Lastly, the Peace Corps. He founded the Peace Corps, where he sent aid to underdeveloped countries, and this reached over 140 countries. This extension of American love was just such an accomplishment and noble thing to do. I picked JFK because in a world where culture was saying keep things as they are, he decided to go against the grain. Not only that, but he ignored popular culture and did the right thing, even though it was probably scary and hard. He was committed to civil rights, and I admire him for his boldness. That concludes my briefing on JFK. Thank you for watching.